Have you ever been in a meeting and you thought, oh my gosh, this could be an email? And then you get all your emails and you're like, my gosh.
This should have been a phone call.
Right, exactly. Just text me. Anyways, a lot of people feel sort of the pressure of far too many meetings. Well, e-commerce giant Shopify is changing how its employees meet in what's being called a calendar purge. It's cutting down on recurring meetings with more than 2 people and re-emphasizing its no meetings on Wednesdays policy. But the crackdown has raised concerns that some remote workers could end up feeling isolated. So joining me now is Clara Murray. She's a data journalist for Raconteur. Raconteur. Oh, you said it. Did we say it in a French way?
I mean, that's how I would read it, right, Clara?
Is that how you say it, Clara?
Raconteur, yeah.
Raconteur, okay. So let's talk about this because I have noticed, particularly, actually, I will say this, for my managers, that they seem to be in non-stop meetings. Like, if you want to have a meeting with them, they're like, it's got to be in this 5-minute break that I have between these other meetings that I have, right?
Yeah.
So since the pandemic began, many employees have felt that there's been really a surge in virtual meetings. It makes sense. We're not in the office, so, how do you talk to people? But it's also, there have been complaints about it just eating up a lot of their time going to all these meetings. What is Shopify doing?
Yeah, so Shopify, they've called it Chaos Monkey. They've basically said they kind of immediately cut out thousands of meetings from their employees' calendars without warning, as you said, a calendar purge. And they've said that going forward, they're really cutting down on these group meetings. They've also deleted lots of public Slack conversations, so group channels where people can discuss off-topic things. And the idea is that people are wasting too much time in these unproductive chats. It's eating into too much time and people are not using their time effectively.
So
I was going to say, the thing about these larger meetings is the larger the meeting, the more time you spend waiting to hear something that actually applies to you, right?
Yeah.
And then there's always a handful of people who want to get noticed, so they feel the need to reiterate something you already heard, which, and so I understand why these large meetings, can be essentially unproductive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there is kind of a balance to be struck here. It's definitely true that in the pandemic, people did rush to replace all these casual conversations you would have in the office with meetings. And maybe a meeting is not always the right solution. But I think what Shopify has done has maybe gone too far in the opposite direction, and saying you can't have meetings at all is really cutting workers off from kind of the only way they have to get to know their coworkers on a human level as people.
So before I became a journalist, I spent many years in corporate America, in the finance world. And one of the things that you come to the realization, here's the dirty secret, is that people just simply do not know how to conduct meetings, and they don't have what I call meeting etiquette. In other words, whenever there's a decision, let's have a meeting. And the reason why these meetings happen is because nobody wants to, A, be on the hook for something on their own, and B, because you often have to show that you are working, and by working, you're having a lot of meetings and talking about work and the work that needs to be done, or the work that was done, or the work that we're gonna do in a year, and the reality is I used to have this rule with my staff, which is I don't put any meetings on my calendar unless I'm there to make a decision. I'm not in there to talk and to blah, 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 blah. Like, that happens at levels below me, where people maybe have more time on their hands. I don't have a lot of time on my hands. You need me there. You need me to make a decision about something. You need me there to say yes or no, or green light something. When I get all that input, that's what I'm there for.
That makes sense.
But the reality is that, people have these meetings because it's a way to appear busy. And that is now leading to where I think the decision by Shopify is happening.
Can I give a counter argument?
Okay.
So, part of one of the other things that comes out of meetings are a sort of a collaborative, it creates a collaborative environment, right? You get to work together, you get to bounce other ideas off of people. And with so many of us working from home, that is one of the things that's not happening, right? We're not getting that collaboration. And so if you reduce the number of meetings even further, and you're only allowed to have a meeting with one other person, is there a concern that the benefits of collaborating will dwindle even more than they already have with remote work?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a danger. And I think we have to remember that in the era of remote work and where employees increasingly never come into the office at all, meetings are fulfilling a slightly different role than they used to. It's not actually always about making decisions anymore. For many workers, this is kind of the only time they get to have those sort of more casual, unstructured conversations. There's a lot of things that can't be put in an email. And back pre-pandemic, when we were all in the office, it was much easier to walk over, tap someone on the shoulder, run into them at the coffee machine, bounce ideas off each other. But as you're saying, that kind of collaboration is really impossible now without meetings. So I think, we need to broaden our idea of what meetings are about and what role they play in the modern workplace.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the meetings should happen. What we're talking about are different levels of an organization. At the sort of the middle tier of an organization, meetings need to happen, right? I mean, when you decide, for example, let's just randomly take a Hollywood studio, and you're deciding what the marketing strategy is going to be for a big film, people sit in a meeting and they decide what to do with that, and they decide how much money they're going to spend, et cetera. But I'm talking about the next level, when what's been decided in that meeting, you don't need another meeting to share the results of the previous meeting.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's why it becomes very difficult. So so how are we going to track if this works or not, Clara?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how they're going to track it. Interestingly, though, Shopify's COO, Kaz Najatian, he's tweeted this week that they've actually found they've had such great feedback internally from this that they're now talking about making a new product that's entirely focused on helping others also become meeting-free. So Shopify seems to think it's already working. I'm not quite sure how they're tracking that, though.
They probably had a meeting to decide that.
Yeah.
Clara Murray, great conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.